It's time for a deep dive on University of Portland basketball. The inside story on the Pilots. This is Portland Pilots basketball with Coach Eric Reveneau. Tonight's show is brought to you on 910 ESPN Portland by employee-owned Bi-Mart, by your local Les Schwab Tire Center, the Oregon College Savings Plan, by Buffalo Wild Wings, U.S. Bank, by Safeway, and by PlaySmart Health Screenings from Providence Heart and Vascular Institute. Now here's your host, Jason Breaux.
Good evening, everybody. A busy sports day in terms of college football national championship on right now on sister station 1080 The Fan. Close game between Alabama and Clemson. Here on the Bluff, school is back in session. We are at the Pilot House on campus and a very vibrant, active community. Coach, it's good to see the students back here. Got a little quiet there for a little while.
It did get quiet. I just had a nice dinner with Ray Barano, and he used the phrase "poppin'," so I think we could say this place is poppin'. I think I'm using it correctly. So the Pilot House is back to its normal poppin' self.
Second semester started here at the University of Portland, and a lot of basketball played over the last month. Not just the men's team, but the women's basketball team probably had their best performance. And as you know, sometimes building a program, as Cheryl Sorensen's doing, you got to start from scratch sometimes, and that's what they've done. They got a lot of young players, but as we were going to our game in Spokane, watching the team play the best team in the WCC, Gonzaga, here at the Child Center, and talking with some people, probably the best performance of the year for that team. They were up 17 on Gonzaga in the first half, played their best first two quarters of the game, went all the way down to the final buzzer and lose by 8. So that's hopefully something that Coach Sorensen and that young team can take going forward going into conference play.
Yeah, no, those moments are great. You know, as a coach, you don't want to talk about moral victories, but it's and that's kind of the cliche, but at the same time you do need to talk about the process. You know, you need to talk about playing a certain way, those moments, those games, those instances where you're doing things the right way, things that you're trying to instill in your players in the program. And it sounded like the women's team definitely had one of those moments on Saturday where the process was on track, and there's some things that they can point to that they're building upon that, you know, it's always disappointing it didn't result in a win, but that they're on track, and that goes a long ways for the players and the coaches who are working so hard.
Yeah, and that's just a reality. Different programs are at different stages, and to get to that breakthrough, sometimes you have to take the first step. So a nice performance there by Cheryl Sorensen and the women's team. If you got a question for Coach Rev, a few ways that you can get in touch with us. Use on Twitter, hashtag AskCoachRev. Go to the Portland Pilots website, portlandpilots.com/AskCoachRev. Submit a question anytime during the week, or give us a call, 503-542-0910. And we will get to a lot of basketball in this segment, and we'll have a guest on our fourth segment, as Casey Flicker, a member of the 1996 Pilots team that went to the NCAA tournament, will join us for a segment and talk about their reunion on Saturday. But some other great things happening with UP Athletics, specifically recent graduate Scott Fauble, and I think you've gotten to know Scott a little bit throughout his 4 to 5 years on campus, finished third at the Great Edinburgh Cross Country World Meet. There was a couple Olympic medalists that were in front and behind him, and as you talk about the elite of the elite in the running world, pretty good performance by the recent grad Scott Fauble, finishing third at basically an Olympic prep meet back in Edinburgh, Scotland. And it's just amazing to see, whether it be soccer, basketball, cross country, University of Portland developing elite world caliber athletes.
No, actually, I think I saw that result, and it's just you know, the cross-country guys are great. Coach Connor's got that program hitting at such a high level year in, year out. And I see those guys, they kind of they cluster around our office before they head out for a run. And the running joke is, I'll tell them to go ahead without me today. You know, I'll catch up with them later. Because those guys, I see them out there running. And even last week when it was cold, you know, it's a cold day when, like, one of them throws on a long sleeve T-shirt. You know, those guys are just
soft.
Yeah, they're a tough crew, and so they train hard. So it's great to see Scott going on to even more success.
Yeah, trying to make his Olympic qualification. We've talked to Corey Tilke before in the tracks sector, trying to make the world championships. So good luck to them. Scott, of course, a part of that Pilots team that set a record by finishing third at the NCAA cross-country championships 2 years ago. And we'll go to the phone lines. We got our first call from Larry in Hood River. Larry, good to see you last week. What do you got for Coach?
You want us to
we got Larry?
You want us to talk more cross country?
We'll get back to Larry in a second. But other University of Portland news to talk about, an exciting announcement today is the men's soccer program has announced a new head coach, Scott Latham, actually, I believe, at the airport right now, picking up Nick Carlin Voigt. He is the associate head coach at UCLA, has brought in top-ranked recruiting classes 3 out of the last 4 years for UCLA, which is a perennial power. And just announced as the new head coach of the University of Portland. He is going to be here tonight, do the media tour tomorrow, but it just shows that program, the caliber of candidates in that program and pulling from one of the elite programs in the nation to come, just another good member of the coaching fraternity for you and the Pilots.
Yeah, no, just from the inside here, I understood there were some really good candidates coming through, and Scott and the senior administrators like yourself were working hard going through it, but I think sounds very exciting choice that we got. I look forward to. I had the opportunity to meet him when he was coming through, say hello at least, and I've only heard great things. And like you say, I think the experience of where he was at, and even I think he played. Was it Division III volleyball?
Division III soccer at Kalamazoo College.
He coached some mid-major stuff, so he's been some different levels and seen some different things. Very familiar with West Coast soccer, and just really excited to have him on board.
Yeah, check out the release with some high praise from some of the best soccer minds in the United States, from Caleb Porter to his former coach at George Mason, Jorge Salcido, the head coach at UCLA, who's led them to national championships in the past, as well as Seattle Sounders and Portland Timbers folks. So Nick will be on campus tomorrow and is eager to get started with our men's soccer program. Larry in Hood River, do we got you now? How's it? Yeah, I can hear you, Larry. Sorry about that. What do you got for Coach?
About, 2/3 the way through the season, about 13 games left. Just thought I'd check in with Coach and see how the mood of the team and how we think things have gone so far.
The mood of the team is very good. I'd say, this was I number our practices as we go through, and a lot of times we get up to close to into the 90s, maybe 100, depending on how the season falls. I believe today was number 60, and the mood of the team at this point in the season is very good. They're very energetic. It's like it's cliche, but they enjoy each other. They seem to enjoy working together in practice, and I feel like this team is really bought in, or really embraces the idea that our best basketball is still ahead of us, and we're still figuring some things out with the new offense, and defensively we're getting back to some of our core principles and doing what we do, and embracing that. And I feel like we're in a really good place, and but it's a race against time, and we're grinding away. Last week was very good for us. We had a very productive week. Unfortunately, this week that darn school starts back up. It's just such a grind. It's like guys have classes. We have to. We had a couple guys had to leave practice earlier today. Guys have class, and it can be a challenge juggling it. So the little bit of attention span was a little bit split a little bit in practice today. I had to remind him about that, but I'm excited about where we're at as a team overall.
Anything else, Larry, for Coach?
I think you're right. I think our best basketball is ahead of us. I'm excited when I watch our guards. I thought we outplayed Gonzaga in the backcourt. The front court's pretty tough, but I'm kind of a numbers guy. But you look at Gabe, and you look at Jason, you look at Alex, and you put all those together, and they shot nearly at a 50-60% clip. That's pretty good against that team.
Yeah, no, there were a lot of bright spots. I mean, again, we were talking about moral victories, and we don't go in. I'd ever get off the plane in Spokane looking for a moral victory. I'm chasing that elusive kennel win for us, and it's fun to do it every time. I get myself in a mindset, and the team is really dialed in, and what do we have to do to win? And I think you're right there in the guard play, and how we did some things that we're capable of winning. And I think we had some good looks in the first half that didn't knock down, that makes it harder. And I think our post play is hard to evaluate against those two future NBA players. But at the same time, I think our post players are going to give us some more. I'm excited. Ray, Phillip, Colin, Jarrell, Gabe. I think we're gonna. That's where some a little more consistency and improvement is going to come, and it's going to really bode well for us going forward. Mixing that with our good guard play.
Well, hey, good luck, and we'll see you Thursday.
All right, thank you very much. See you.
Thanks for the call, Larry. Reminder, fans can call in 503-542-0910 if you have a question or comment for Coach Reveno. We'll take our first break. You're listening to the Portland Pilots Coaches Show on 910 ESPN Portland.
The Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Portland.
Dan Chancellor returns today for the Seattle Seahawks. He has ended his holdout. He has texted Stephen A. Smith because we all know that's the way to end a holdout. And he said he's got to get back for his dog, Marshawn Lynch. This is a pretty ideal circumstance for Cam Chancellor to return to. After being the greedy jerk who's ruining our season for 2 games,
now he's the same.
The positive turn.
The Dan Le Batard Show, weekdays 7 to 10 a.m. on 910 ESPN Portland.
U.S. Bank provides custom solutions to help you grow your business. Whether you've just started in a friend's apartment.
What do you mean there's no printer?
Or opened your first office.
We have a printer.
Or maybe you've opened a new location.
We have so many printers.
You'll have a business banker there to guide you every step of the way. Visit your local U.S. Bank branch or usbank.com/business. Credit products are subject to normal credit approval and program guidelines. Some restrictions and fees may apply. See your banker for details. Deposit products offered by U.S. Bank, National Association, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
What if there were a place where you could become your best self? To become not just what you want to be, but who you want to be. At University of Portland, we inspire innovators, entrepreneurs, leaders, difference makers, people with the smarts to succeed and the heart to know what success really means. University of Portland. Rise.
Think you know pro football?
What game are you most confident of winning?
In the Change Realty NFL Challenge, our fan hosts and the fan baby are ready to pick every game against each other. And you, the mighty fan listener.
What's up, mustache?
Want to play? Just go to 1080thefan.com and click on the NFL Challenge banner. The Change Realty NFL Challenge, presented by Change Realty, home of the 1% listing fee. Sign up now at 1080thefan.com.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner!
You're listening to Portland Pilots Basketball with Coach Eric Reveno on 910 ESPN Portland. Here's your host, Jason Bro.
Show Coach Reveno, Jason Bro here at the Pilot House on the University of Portland campus, and Larry from Hood River got us going and talking a little bit about that Gonzaga
Was
game.
that some David Bowie here?
David Bowie, poor David Bowie. You know, rest in peace, man. He was one of the greatest ones that crossed over all kinds of. Were you a Bowie fan?
I was a Bowie fan. Just like you say, he crossed over a lot of different generations and some good music over the years.
I'd be interested to see your iPod mix, but that's a conversation for another day. But looking back at that Gonzaga game, and first half both teams really kind of struggled to get going. Do you think that was defense, kind of a feeling out process? How do you think that was?
After talking to Coach Few after the game, my theory was that both teams spent the week working on defense. Both teams had felt like they'd gone down to the Bay Area and not defended like they were capable. And I think that, so I think there was some of that, and I think we just had some bad stretches. We lost Wilcher a couple times, missed assignments, and that it was just, we gave him too much of the high percentage stuff, and he gave there was a couple good possessions. We're going to watch some video tomorrow. We got a little more time tomorrow in practice to watch some video, and there's some clips where we make the right rotations based on scouting report, make good decisions in real time, and and Gonzaga is left with their secondary players, which are still very talented, but shooting the ball opposed to their best player shooting the shot he wants to shoot, and that's what we have to do more of. And for us offensively in the first half, we had some good looks, some really good looks, and maybe they'd say the same thing about some of their looks, but we had some good looks that didn't knock down for us, and that'll happen on the road. we got down early, that we came back, and then it was the end of the first half where we just made some mistakes and there in their place, you can't do that. You just can't. You can't do that. You've got to close it. You got to close out the half and come in and sort of a little bit more striking distance, down 12 at half, and then we end up, able to put a bunch of points on the second half, score 49 in the second half, but just gave up 48, and so it's hard to come back when you're just trading buckets.
Yeah, and Gonzaga can put them up in a hurry, as we saw at the end of that first half, and turned a close game into a double-digit deficit, makes it tough. Another phone call, we go to the lines, and Pedro in Southern California. Pedro, good to have you on. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Jason, Coach Rep. How you guys doing tonight?
Good,
great,
Pedro.
Great.
I've had enough of this SEC football. I don't care about two teams from the Deep South. I'm sticking with the WCC and what's out here on the West Coast. But it was a great game Saturday. You freeze those last 8 minutes the Pilots play, and that was great. They were right there, playing hard, competing. And it was a rough game. Watching it on TV, it was a rough physical game, and you get a few shots to go down, it's a different outcome. But I liked how physical the Pilots were playing. They're running, they're rebounding, and Southern didn't go right on one possession. They came right back and played hard on the next possession. But I really liked the last 8 to 12 minutes and just how the Pilots just showed a lot of heart, came back, and just about I thought they almost pulled it out.
Yeah, no, there were some good things to feel good about. One of the things that we were emphasizing last week in practice was sort of, Pilot toughness plays that, prevent guys from getting their primary, first choice option offensively, getting them, offensive boards. We struggled with at times against them a little bit, but those kinds of plays, we were making a few more, and I think, that's I appreciate you noticing that we're being a little more physical. I thought the officiating was very good. Overall, Alec is tough to guard, with the rules the way they are, and they were calling it the way they're supposed to. And inside, they did a good job of allowing guys to play a little bit and within the rules being physical, because there was some big bodies, and we had to match their physicality inside. And I was worried we'd get some quick fouls, as our post players have been apt to do on occasion. But that didn't happen. Our guys were good, physical, clean play, and the officials recognized that.
Well, I love seeing a physical game. So now I've lost in the shuffle here the fact that the Pilots have been on the road for their first 3 games in conference. And how do you feel about coming home to play?
It's great. The students are back. I felt like, we've had to, had this interesting conference schedule to start off, and I think this year it worked out okay. And now to be back, and it all comes around. You play everyone home and away at the end, so I try not to worry too much about it. But I'm excited that San Diego on Thursday and BYU on Saturday. Hopefully, good student sections for both, and our guys are excited to play at home.
Well, it's January, and it certainly looks and sounds like school's in session up at UP, and I can't wait to get up there. So best of luck Thursday and Saturday, and we'll be down here rooting for you as usual. And,
Thank you very much. No, really appreciate it. Appreciate your call as always.
Thanks.
All right. Jason, we'll see you.
Thank you, Pedro. We'll see you soon. Appreciate the call.
Bye-bye.
Again, Gonzaga pulling out that game. It got close, got down to single digits in the last couple minutes, but 85-74. We'll take a longer look at that, go into the box score a little more, talk about Alec Wintering, continue to perform at an extremely high level. And again, if you have any questions, comments for Coach Reveno, give us a call at 503-542-0910 or on Twitter. Use hashtag AskCoachRev. You're listening to the Portland Pilots Coaches Show on 910 ESPN Portland.
What if there were a place where you could become your best self? To become not just what you want to be, but who you want to be. At University of Portland, we inspire innovators, entrepreneurs, leaders, difference makers, people with the smarts to succeed and the heart to know what success really means. University of Portland. Rise.
B-Dubs presents B-Dubbing.
This is it, folks. Everyone's on the edge of their
stools for Appy Hour at Buffalo Wild Wings.
Here's the snap. He drops back.
For great deals.
And throws.
A domestic draft.
Smith snags.
$4 shareables like street tacos and Southwest loaded chips.
What a throw. What a catch. What a...
Appy Hour.
Experience Happy Hour at Buffalo Wild Wings. Wings, beer, sports. Participation and offers vary. See a participating location for details. Void where prohibited.
This is what matters. This is beyond X's and O's. This is the difference mutual respect makes. This is what character looks like. This is what defines us in Oregon. This is sportsmanship. School sports. It's not the outcome that matters most, but the way the games are played. This message presented by the Oregon School Activities Association and the Oregon Athletic Directors Association.
It's coming fast. August 12th through the 14th, the 2016 Bi-Mart Willamette Country Music Festival, featuring Florida Georgia Line, Miranda Lambert, and Brantley Gilbert. Over 20 artists, music, family, memories. Go to bwcmf.com before it's too late. The Bi-Mart Willamette Country Music Festival. Save even more with discounted GA tickets at Bi-Mart.
You're listening to Portland Pilots Basketball with Coach Eric Reveneau on 910 ESPN Portland. Here again is Jason Bro.
Give us a call, 503-542-0910, or on Twitter, use hashtag AskCoachRev if you got any questions or comments for Coach. Looking back at Gonzaga and looking ahead to a fun week of San Diego coming Thursday night at 7 o'clock here at the Chiles Center. And then a really fun one, a game that's been fun over the years, especially looking back a couple years to that triple overtime 114-110 win where Bobby Sharp went nuts, where the Pilots are hosting the BYU Cougars. Always a fun game, the two of the fastest teams in the country in terms of getting up and down, so that should be a fun one. A matinee Saturday afternoon, 3 o'clock, and one of the things we're really excited about is bringing back members of the 1996 NCAA tournament team. We'll be joined next segment by Casey Flicker, who was a member, a senior on that team, and played through the Larry Steele and Rob Chavez years, but it's always fun to have the alumni come back and be a part of it. Not a lot of touch points with them, but a lot of those guys are coming back to campus for the first time, and they're going to see a very different campus than when they were here 20 years ago.
And they're welcome to go see Howard Hall if ROTC will let us in, and they can check it out and relive some of their memories. But no, it is, it's the best to get the alumni to come back, and it's a hard thing to corral because you want to make it easy for them. You want to make it fun. You don't want it. You want it something convenient. They're really always welcome. And so if the alumni is listening, a former player that ever wants to come to a game, just reach out to us. Let us know. And this Saturday will be one of those special times where we are able to put together something to have a real special group in the history of Pilot basketball be recognized.
Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. So we'll get to Casey Flicker next segment. But looking back at this Gonzaga game going into the last break, we talked about it. And Alec Wintering, I don't know if you can find many players in the conference right now who are playing at as high of a level that he is playing. He's been so efficient. He's averaging 27 a game over the last 4, second leading scorer in WCC games, and he did it again in a tough environment. 9 for 13 from the field, 7 for 8 from the foul line, 27 points, 6 assists up at Gonzaga. What more can you say about your point guard?
Funny you should ask that because I can. What more I would say about him is his leadership, and the stuff he's doing, because the stuff that doesn't show up in the box score, to be honest, is what we're on him about. And I say on him is just because the box score stuff, the assists and taking care of the ball and making others better and scoring the ball, he's doing a great job of. He has grown so much as a player in terms of his leadership in the locker room, leadership in practice, being a floor general on the floor, and just really giving him more and more latitude to play call or make decisions, and he's really embracing that. And it's not necessarily his nature. He's not a big barker. He's not a big command control look at me type guy. But he's letting his play speak for himself. And Bryce Presley and him, Bryce Presley sort of is just so rock steady. Just so consistent and does such a good job. That sometimes we need to make sure we're getting him involved as much as we can, and all the pieces are come together well. It's a pretty dangerous offense.
Alex, there's so much good things to talk about, and he's done so well, and he's taken on such a lion's share. Is there areas where, if you're going to be kind of constructively critical of him that he can get better at or improve on and help the team in other ways in the last 15 games of this season?
Yeah, that's tough. I think defensively he's gotten a lot better at defending hard without fouling. That was an area of concern early, and I knock on wood now.
The Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Portland.
When's the last time Mike McCarthy?
We're going to talk. We're pretty big football guys.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers and Peyton Manning are playing each other. What do you want me to ask you?
You got the best quarterback ever.
No, look, McCarthy.
Oh.
Yeah, you got the best quarterback ever.
What about the rest of the team?
Yeah. Who cares?
Okay. How's the weather in Miami?
Coach, 1 to 10, how much did you enjoy this? 10 being the highest.
Well, I mean, it's just it has to be a 10 because I can only handle this once a year.
I know. Would you prefer this or the normal weekly media scrum where you go in there and say you're coaching gibberish, cliche stuff, and you're not even listening to yourself because it's so boring?
Well, I actually got to get off the phone and go do that gibberish thing here in about 2 minutes. So this is definitely a lot more fun than I'm getting ready to have. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, weekly press.
All right.
The Dan Le Batard Show, weekdays 7 to 10 a.m. on 910 ESPN Portland.
Hello?
Hey, Jesse, can you hear us? All right, sorry, we lost connection, but we're back on now. And Coach, we're just talking about
that was the best
Gonzaga.
answer I ever gave. I told my family how much I love them. I explained the keys to Pilot basketball and Alec Wittering's future. So now that we're ready to move on from that, what's next? No, I was just saying about Alec being so good, and teams are going to adjust to him. I think his continued improvement will be just reading those adjustments as they come, real time, game to game. Guys are going to make adjustments, and our job as coaches is to help him through that, and then also from a team perspective, keep trying to get him support. Bryce Presley, like I mentioned, is doing so much. DeMarcus is playing well. Jason, all the perimeter guys, and then the inside, Gabe, Jarrell, Colin, Phil, and Big Ray. Getting those guys, everyone doing their job and filling in and doing some things at a high level would really help them out.
All right, I think we got Ed from Camas on the line. Hopefully we didn't lose Ed when we lost the transmission there. Ed, are you with us?
Hey, Jason. Hey, Coach. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good, Coach. Hey, I know you were kind of kidding about the defensive effort for both teams, but it was kind of interesting. I think other than, at least on the Gonzaga side, other than Wilcher and Sabonis, their other starters and guys coming off the bench only shot 25%. So I think it was a pretty good effort there.
It's hard to tell when I'm joking sometimes. I was actually really saying that some of the early offensive struggles or the sort of in the first half, I think both teams, we worked on defense a lot last week, and I do think we were improved. I think just Gonzaga, our breakdowns, when you lose Wilcher, it's just so obvious to everyone in the building what happens. But you're right. If you look back at the Santa Clara game, or, you think of Dirksen from USF, we're letting guys get 20-something points on 12, 15 shots. The guys that maybe you really don't think you should be allowing to do that. I think if what you're saying, I think we did a good job of that. Wilcher has gotten a lot of points on a lot of good teams, and so I think we did do some good things.
Coach, I wanted to ask you about the five. I mean, we've kind of got them outnumbered. Our 10 guys against their 7, I suppose, that play a lot. But the guys that maybe hadn't played at Gonzaga, I think they were like 2 for 14. And was that just nerves, or what do you attribute that shooting slump to for the guys, for us to come off the bench? I
think for they get guys inside, a lot of it you could give them credit for being just Gonzaga being big, and I think some of it could be nerves, some of it could be the road thing. It wasn't as hostile a crowd. I didn't tell them that. So it wasn't as there wasn't fully locked and loaded with all their student section. It was about literally 1/6 the normal student section. Wouldn't you say, Jason? About I mean, it was just, and so it was still loud. It was still sold out. It was still packed, and it was Gonzaga home game, but. But I do think there was some of it. Jason started the second half with a nice drive and a strong finish in traffic, and that sort of I could tell. Okay, now we're just sort of comfortable. Well, I think you were right. There was a few shots in the first half where we were still feeling our way a little bit, and whether that was the opponent or the environment, it's tough to say sometimes.
Okay. Well, great, Coach. Thanks a lot, and good luck Thursday.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ed. We'll see you on Thursday. We'll take another break here. You're listening to the Portland Pilots Coaches Show on 910 ESPN Portland.
Providence Wellness Watch from Providence Heart and Vascular Institute on PlaySmart Heart Screenings for young people.
Most kids' hearts are healthy, thank goodness, but a small number of kids will have hidden heart defects that you wouldn't know about unless you did testing. PlaySmart is a free screening program for kids ages 12 through 18. We perform a blood pressure measurement, an electrocardiogram. It takes less than 10 minutes, painless, non-invasive, and it gives cardiologists a lot of information so that we can assess risk. Hidden heart defects are not common, but we want to know about them. All kids can be at risk, and therefore we want to give all kids the opportunity to have a free screening. We want our kids to stay active throughout the school year and throughout the summer, so now's a great time to get screened and to learn more about your heart.
To learn more about Providence Heart and Vascular Institute's PlaySmart Screenings for kids ages 12 to 18, visit playsmartgetscreened.org.
Some things you can't control, like going in for seconds a third time.
Good.
Or the fact that all 6 kinds of Meemaw's cookies are so delicious. Or the storm that blows in right before your long drive home. But you can be sure your tires have enough traction to get you where you're going, no matter what Mother Nature has in store. At Les Schwab, we have the tires you need, backed by our best tire value promise. That should settle your stomach, at least until you break into those leftovers.
Oh boy.
Les Schwab Tires, doing the right thing since 1952.
Mike and Mike in the morning on ESPN Portland.
When you break it down, you can attribute it to players with LeBron as a reason why, but there are those that won't. There are those that say you're in the finals, you do enough to win. When last year, let me tell you, if he'd have pulled that one off against Golden State minus Love and Kyrie, that would have been unbelievable. Yeah. But people are going to look at the big picture and say he's 2-4, and Michael Jordan is 6-0, and I think that happens to be true.
Mike and Mike in the morning, weekdays 3 to 7 a.m. on 910 ESPN Portland. You're listening to Portland Pilots basketball with Coach Eric Reveneau on 910 ESPN Portland. Here's your host, Jason Bro.
Reminder, fans can give us a call at 503-542-0910 or on Twitter. Use hashtag AskCoachRev. Chance to interact with head coach Eric Reveneau and talk about Pilots basketball. And as we look back to that Gonzaga-Portland game, hard to ignore, as Ed talked about, Sabonis and Kyle Wiltjer combining for 60, and they've been, especially with Karnowski going out with a season-ending back injury, that's really put a premium on minutes for those two guys, and they're just guys that not many people in the country are going to slow down.
No, I really feel I'm not sure how much better we could do on Sabonis. I mean, the way they run really good actions to put those two in situations where the primary helper by normal defensive rules is the other guy's defender. I felt like Wiltjer, as good as he is, I felt like just for him to score, to score that like he did, I felt like we could have done a better job on him. But no, they're just a load, and like I say, I feel like the rest were pretty good, but yet Sabonis was good enough to get to the line 17 times, and so we can learn from it and improve, and we look forward to having him back here at the Child Center.
Well, we've talked about it. Now we've got Casey Flicker joining us, and Casey, a member of that 1996 NCAA tournament team, played 4 years with the Pilots, also played on the baseball team, good three-point shooter, and Casey, you must be excited to celebrate the 20-year anniversary. I know we've talked about it over the past couple of years, but it's going to be a lot of fun on Saturday reconnecting with some of those guys, isn't it?
Hey, Jason. Thanks, man. Yeah, looking forward to it. Hey, Coach. How are you?
Hey there. I'm good, thank you.
All right. Looking forward to coming to seeing your guys play on Saturday against those BYU guys.
BYU. Yeah, that should be a lot of fun. In case for those who weren't listening earlier, 20-year anniversary of the NCAA tournament team, and team won the WCC tournament against Gonzaga, getting retribution after a 21-win season, came up short in the WCC tournament your junior year. But what are some of your key thoughts and memories back from that era when you were playing and leading the Pilots to an NCAA tournament?
Well, the program had a lot of momentum at the time. Coach Larry Steele had a great recruiting class, got a couple of ex-Pac-10 guys. Kanan Chapman and Ray Ross joined our team my sophomore year, and with their athleticism and their ability to just play at a high level, really gave us an uptick on who we were and who we wanted to be. And I think we won 22 games my junior year, and really had, like I mentioned, a ton of momentum going into my senior year. We actually stumbled up a little bit in league play that year. We were 7-7 going into the WCC tournament, but I still felt like we had a good squad, and we got hot at the right time.
Yeah, that's so important in March, making that run, beating Gonzaga. We've seen it on an ESPN game, and I know there's highlights, and we're excited to replay some of those. And I think for you in that team, and talking with Craig Swinyard, our current alumni director, who was a manager on that team, which is so many tie-ins, but sometimes it's hard to stay in touch with a lot of those former teammates and everything. So how many of these guys are you going to be seeing for maybe the first time since you graduated?
Well, yeah, our recruiting back then, a lot of the kids came from L.A., and we had kids coming out from Arkansas, our team captain, Lamont Daniels. So I have not spoken or talked to many of my teammates. So I'm really excited. I think 9 of the 13 or 14 guys are going to be able to make the trek to Portland and spend the weekend in the Rose City. And we have some good events scheduled. We're going to catch up Friday night, and then, of course, do the walkthrough with the team on Saturday, and then get in our seats and hopefully watch the Pilot win on Saturday afternoon at 3.
No, that's fantastic. You guys can make it. I hope the squad will do you proud. This team, it'll be a fast-paced game against BYU. It'll be, but I'm excited for you guys to get together. How much now? Is there an organizer of the group that takes the lead on stuff, or are you guys gonna just all get together and just see where the night takes you?
Well, Craig Swinyard's really done a great job putting this together on behalf of the university, and I definitely want to make a shout out to the university for inviting us back for a very special event. But I'm the pack leader for Friday night's festivities. We're going to meet at the Pilot House, which none of us have seen. I'm assuming the old Cove revamped.
Yeah. It's a little. I don't want to oversell it. Just to say, it's a little bit nicer. It's a little. It's with adult beverages. It's a little bit nicer than how it was. So you're going to enjoy it. It'll be good to have you guys here.
Yeah, some TVs to watch some sports and some adult beverages and then some good conversation. And many of the guys are bringing their wives and significant others. So I'm really looking forward to it. And of course, there'll be a lot of stories talked about how everybody's averages went way up.
Yeah, everyone's scoring a lot more than they were back in '96.
I've got a question for you. When I think about different teams and whatnot, did you guys do you remember in the tournament or any point in the thing, any rituals or any things that you guys did that stick out to you, whether it was a locker room thing, or I've known teams that would sing a song on a bus or do something like that? I was just curious. And if you don't, I'd hate to put you on the spot like that, but I was just curious if you remember.
No, we didn't have anything specific that comes to mind, but we certainly were a close-knit team. Even though the guys, like I said, were all from all parts of the country, we found a way to come together on off hours, if you will, dorm rooms. We had some off-campus housing at the time.
Yep.
So we made sure we got the team involved away from the coaching staff and away from the child center. to kind of grow and learn to trust each other. And I think, again, ultimately that pulled us through the WCC and gave us that victory against the Zags.
Yeah, no, and it's interesting how, you described the, of course I'm familiar with your teams, but just to see how, the closeness comes, and I think the winning helps, and I think the closeness helps the winning. It sort of gets in a nice cycle, and then it's interesting to hear you talk about how you had a 22-win season, and then you weren't, and with a lot of expectations, and I think probably, but you were still that good basketball team at heart, that was able to rise up when it was really mattered the most, was pretty impressive.
Yeah, we still had even though we struggled in the league, we had a good roster. We had Kamada King was definitely our most athletic, highest scoring three-man, and again we had Lamont back for a second year as our team leader, and Dion and Shivo and Jimmy Rainwater kind of fulfilled those spots on the perimeter. So we felt good about our roster. We just some things didn't go our way, and that's why we turned out 7-7. But again, turned it on late and had a great year. I will say this: the Child Center atmosphere was really good in my entire career. We had great media coverage by the local stations, and I know times are different now, and lots changed, but that certainly was it was fun to play in front of 4,000 fans a game. So hoping to get the pilot program back to that level again.
Yeah, no, we've had the Child Center rock on a few occasions, and we'd like to get to the point, and the students are coming back, and we'd like to get a point where it's like that. And it'll be neat to have you take a look around at the new improvements. The Child Center, still the same basic footprint, but it's a fantastic building with a few upgrades in the locker rooms and whatnot that makes it still almost timeless. So it's great.
Yeah, I heard that locker room's a little better than what we had, so I'm excited to see.
Yeah.
Casey Flicker, a member of the 1996 NCAA Tournament Pilots team, and I know you're in the area. I've seen you at games. You've come out to some games. When's the last time you've been on campus? Have you seen the new Beauchamp Rec and Wellness Center?
I have not, and that's a must-see for me when I come back on either Friday or Saturday morning. But yeah, I traveled. I think I saw Coach Rev down at Pepperdine. I was in Malibu at the time and saw the squad play in Pepperdine, and I've been back to I try to make it 2 or 3 games a year, so I like that point guard you picked up, and he's an out-of-towner too, if I'm not mistaken, Coach Rev.
Yeah.
Alex is having a hell of a year.
Yeah, no, he's very good and getting better. We were talking about him. He's Arizona originally. They moved to North Carolina, and we got a freshman point guard from Portland, Jazz Johnson, and we got some local kids. We get a little more international kids now. Like you say, times have changed, but basically finding the same skilled guys, skilled, athletic, tough guys that want to be at University of Portland, get the education, and do exactly what you guys were able to do, is find a way and to get to the NCAA tournament and build a championship team. So really excited to have you guys back and check it out.
Definitely appreciate that. We're looking forward to it as well.
All right, well, Casey Flicker, thanks for joining us. We're really looking forward to Saturday, chance to reconnect with some old teammates, coaches, check out the new scene here at the University of Portland, and that should be a really fun game against the BYU Cougars, 2 high-octane offenses. So, Case, thanks again for joining us. We're looking forward to see you on Saturday.
Get a big win, Coach. Thanks.
All right. Yes, sir, you got that. We'll take care of that.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you to Casey Flicker. Again, the 20-year reunion of the last NCAA tournament team for the Pilots. They'll be celebrated on Saturday in the 3 p.m. tip-off against BYU. We'll come back a couple more segments with Coach Reveneau. You're listening to the Portland Pilots Coaches Show on 910 ESPN Portland.
Honey, why does the doorbell ring when I turn on the kitchen lights?
I rewired that. It should work now.
No, it doesn't.
Don't rely on short-term fixes that need long-term solutions. A U.S. Bank home equity line of credit may help turn the equity in your home into lasting improvements. Visit a U.S. Bank branch, usbank.com/dreambig, or call 800-209-BANK.
Home sweet normal home.
Some restrictions may apply, subject to credit approval. Mortgage and home equity products offered through U.S. Bank, National Association, Equal Housing Lender, member FDIC.
Each weekday, the Coors Light Ticket Locker gives you a chance to win tickets to your favorite sporting events and concerts.
Excellent!
You can do it on your phone. Listen for the code word at 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. and text it to 55305 when the Ticket Locker opens at 4 with Isaac and Sue. Message and data rates apply.
Tell you what, this is unprecedented.
Powered by Frost Brewed Coors Light. Refreshing fan listeners with tickets every day. More info at 1080thefan.
55305.com.
Some things you can't control, like that epic traffic in the mall parking lot. Or the fussy triplets waiting behind you at the only register. Or the wet rock-filled shortcut you take home that leads to this. A flat tire. But you're not worried. Your Les Schwab tires are backed by their best tire value promise. So you'll get free flat repairs, free pre-trip safety checks, equal value replacements, and more for the life of your tires. Even the triplets would appreciate that. Les Schwab Tires, doing the right thing since 1952.
They are role models and educators. Their work requires a great deal of time and energy for very little pay. Who are these unsung heroes?
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
The simple truth about education-based athletics in Oregon is this. Without a committed team of coaches and administrators, they just wouldn't be possible. School sports, they bring out the best in all of us. This message presented by the Oregon School Activities Association and the Oregon Athletic Directors Association.
You're listening to Portland Pilots basketball with Coach Eric Reveneau on 910 ESPN Portland. Here again is Jason Bro.
15 minutes left with Coach Rev, so if you got any questions, give us a call at 503-542-0910 or on Twitter, use hashtag AskCoachRev. And, Coach, quick rundown of the WCC standings. Gonzaga alone at the top, 5-0. St. Mary's got knocked off down at Pepperdine. Pepperdine starting to maybe come into where you thought they'd be. BYU is going to come in on Saturday. They're 3-1 before they visit Gonzaga on Thursday. Pepperdine 3-2, and then a logjam there. San Francisco 3-3, Pacific 3-3, Portland 2-3, Santa Clara 2-4. So early season pecking order starting to get established, and still a lot of great opportunities, especially with some home games to start climbing the standings.
Yeah, it's starting to show some shape. You know, early on it was tough to read, and everyone's schedule a little bit different in terms of strength of where they're having to play, home or road, and who they're playing. St. Mary's kind of the early surprise, and give them a lot of credit for playing some really good basketball. But you know, they hadn't been out, they hadn't been on a plane. I don't think. You know, they played at Cal. Was their
one road game.
Their one road game, but they're good. I mean, that's that aside. They're a very good basketball team. Just a bunch of guys that can score it, and so I've been keeping an eye on them. But they go down the road, and they were able to split a road trip, and you know, not to dwell on it or beat ourselves up on it, but you know, that was disappointing that we weren't able to split that road trip. Santa Clara, USF, where we played so well against USF and just didn't make the plays we needed to make to win it. Did a lot of good things, and then at Santa Clara, but. Those games you got to get when you can, and the road is tough. But like you say, now you're back home, and you got to protect home court. You don't want to get, feel pressure from that, but just relax and just try to take care of business at home and start putting together the wins, because it's going to be an up and down season. It always is, and you've got to make sure you minimize the downs, and that's what we're working on doing.
Well, one of the biggest challenges and opportunities with college basketball and any college sport is recruiting is year-round, I know. And I know you got some exciting news. We can't talk specifics, but in general, you got a pretty young roster, not a lot of spots to fill over the next year or two. Next year's recruiting class is already established, but the recruiting continues to go on, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it gets earlier, and we've really committed to focusing on Portland and the Northwest and international, and we've got some good news in recent weeks. Like you said, one particular phone call called up to us in Spokane, from a 503 or a 971 area code, I believe it was. I'd have to check my phone to be exact, but we got a guard, for the 2017 class we're excited about, and it's early, but it's the way it goes now. And to get local kids of that caliber wanting to stay here, I think Jazz is one of the first ones. Xavier, also a freshman, and just sort of getting those inroads into the local kids and keep trying to do that. And you'll still have to be opportunistic and international kids, and to compete in the top 2-3 of the WCC, you're going to have to piece it together a little bit and be opportunistic, but you want to protect your backyard.
Yeah, and I think that's so important. Gabe Taylor, Max Livingston, also local kids, and the more you can bring guys in that have success like Gabe is having, like Jazz is having, I know there's some connections with other recruits, and it kind of all feeds into itself. itself. Once some high school kids start seeing local kids have success and playing in a good conference and getting the opportunities, that really kind of feeds off itself, doesn't it?
It really does. And, our biggest asset right now, recruiting-wise, is our players. Get our people on campus. Our players are good guys. People want to be around. They're guys that want to embrace what we offer in terms of helping each player become the best they can be and giving them a great quality education. And local kids are more apt to get that, or more apt to be able to get more touch points to interact with those guys and see that they're a great fit and they'll be successful here. And then let alone if there's a personal connection because of a previous player, a player they had played with in high school or something, those connections are really important and can really help build some momentum recruiting-wise. So we're very excited about being able to do that. And your reputation is my reputation, the coach's reputation, who have done a great job, is kind of laid bare, and to get that positive reinforcement that we're doing the right things and people are appreciating the job the staff is doing is great.
We have one more segment with Coach Rev. We'll look ahead to Thursday's game against San Diego, Saturday's game against BYU. A big WCC homestand, hoping to get a lot of people out to the Chiles Center and see some great West Coast Conference basketball. We'll take our final break. We'll come back. You're listening to the Portland Pilots Coaches Show on 910 ESPN Portland.
Mom, Dad, we need to talk. I know college will be expensive, but the Oregon College Savings Plan can help. Did you know you could save on your taxes while you save for my college? Any earnings and qualified withdrawals are tax-free.
You can even get a state tax deduction.
Sweet!
Are you saving for college? It helps if you have a plan. With the Oregon College Savings Plan, you can get an Oregon State income tax deduction of over $4,500 for 2015. Plus, when you use the money for qualified college expenses, any earnings are both state and federal tax-free. So for more information, go to OregonCollegeSavings.com.
Now, about my allowance.
The plan is administered by the state of Oregon. Consider the investment objectives, risks, and expenses before investing in the plan. Go to OregonCollegeSavings.com for a disclosure booklet and read it carefully. Investments in the plan are not guaranteed, and there is the risk of investment loss. Non-qualified withdrawals may be subject to taxes and penalties. State tax advantages subject to recapture provisions. Consult your tax advisor.
Oregon, the countdown has begun. And the Bymark Kate Blanco Country Music Festival is going to be huge. Jason Aldean, Kenny Chesney, Brantley Gilbert, over 20 smoking hot performances. But the clock is ticking. Go to cbcmf.com. Experience the summer of a lifetime. Save even more with discounted GA tickets at Bymart. Don't miss it.
At Bob Lamphier's Beaverton Motorcycles, you'll find the latest motorcycles, ATVs, and side-by-sides from Honda, Yamaha, Suzuki, and Kawasaki, all under one roof. Right now, there are great factory incentives, and manufacturer financing offers are available. Grab life by the throttle in 2016 at Bob Lamphier's Beaverton Motorcycles, across 217 from Washington Square. Bob Lamphier's Beaverton Motorcycles. Grab life by the throttle.
You're listening to Portland Pilots Basketball with Coach Eric Reveneau on 910 ESPN Portland. Here's your host, Jason Bro.
Fun weekend of West Coast Conference basketball coming up on the Bluff, starting Thursday, 7 o'clock against the San Diego Toreros and a new-look San Diego Toreros coaching staff. Lamont Smith, a former alum of the University of San Diego, is bringing his Toreros in, and always tough for the first-year coach trying to establish a new culture. You miss a couple recruiting cycles like you talk about where you're recruiting so far in advance. But they've gotten some results, 0-4 in conference, but they did pick up 5 non-conference wins, including a win over San Diego rival San Diego State Aztecs. So what do you know about the San Diego Toreros?
You know, Coach Mitch Johnson did the scouting report, and he handed it off to me and gave it to me on my desk this morning. I've been starting to look at it, and you know, some of the same similar names that we've Judas Adaza and Gito Koch and Vasa Pasica and whatever, however you say it, Pasica. You know, some pretty talented players and a couple new ones, and they really run some good actions. They run some good things. They're very disciplined. They're one of the slower teams in the country, and very deliberate, very precise on offense. Will really test you to guard. And so if you lose interest and are disinterested, and they suck the energy out of you because you're having to guard so long, and then they get a high percentage shot, they wear you out that way, and then maybe a shot or two don't fall for you. They've got a formula in place that can cause trouble, and they're really competing defensively. But like a young team with a new coach, and they're not doing everything right, but they're very dangerous. You can put together a very impressive highlight tape of San Diego, and I think our job is to focus on us and be ready to go and make sure we're dialed in.
Controlling pace of play important, trying to get the ball up and down. Is that something you guys are going to be looking to do?
Yeah, it's something that we're continuing to evolve with, even from our Concordia game. Back in the first exhibition, where Concordia was trying to press us, and we didn't want to go to our press breakers, and we just tried to throw it to Al. Every team is trying to do something different, and we're working. We work to make sure we attack that, and it's to do it within the framework of good basketball. It's not just jack it up and take a bad shot. It's to execute something and to stay aggressive. The best formula that I think the guys have really bought into and they understand is defending and having different guys rebound. Because when different guys rebound and we're throwing it ahead to different people, and the break becomes a whole varied offense in and of itself. So if, like today in practice, Jarrell got a rebound, and Jazz looked for the outlet, and I said, just run. Jarrell can bring it up himself. And when that happens, all of a sudden you're throwing it to Jazz in the front court, and he's looking to attack. It's a whole different look than the same traditional spots that you get to after a made basket. So making sure we're defending and getting stops and pushing tempo. We can do some things. We are creating steals this year. We're creating steals more than we have in the past. We're fouling a little too much, sending our opponent to the free throw line, which isn't hurting us too much because of our depth, but it does give them points at some point. So we've got to be able to create some steals to get out and then not foul and settle down. And I feel like we're really close to hitting on all cylinders on those things.
Then 2 days later, afternoon Saturday game, 3 o'clock tip, as we mentioned, a chance to recognize the 1996 Pilot NCAA tournament team, but a tough one against BYU, and that's usually a fun game. We saw down at San Francisco a high-scoring affair back and forth, both teams pushing it. Expect something similar offensively against BYU Saturday?
Yeah, as much as you'd expected this year, maybe we don't have it. Something different happens, maybe for like the first half of Gonzaga game that you saw over the weekend. Last year in Provo, if you remember, we had a half like that and we had a whole game like that where because you get behind against them, so you're really and they're very comfortable letting you just score, not letting you score, but they're very comfortable with the fast pace, and they're trading baskets. They'll get a 10, 15-point lead, and then all of a sudden their defense isn't quite as tight, and you're scoring, and then all of a sudden you're down 8-10, and you just can't close the gap. You just sort of, and it kind of like the Gonzaga game where the second half we scored 49 points, but we need to get those stops. And so I think our ability to defend, we're going to have to score. We're going to be able to run. It's going to be a high-scoring game, but we got to get some stops in order to make those points pay off.
A couple years ago, one of the more entertaining college basketball games, a triple overtime affair between BYU and Portland, trending nationally on Twitter, 114 to 110. So both teams over the last few years have been playing at the higher end of pace of play, but defense is really going to come into it. You mentioned you can kind of expose BYU in that they don't like to put their head down and grind it out. So is this maybe a game where you kind of look at it and see how it goes, and maybe it makes more sense to slow it down?
No, we don't have a good slow gear right now.
Mm-hmm.
We fall into it, and there is times when we want to try to do that to sort of to protect the lead a little bit. We did that, at those last two games at LMU and Pepperdine at home for stretches. But we're best when we're going on all cylinders and moving and getting points in transition. So I don't think it's one what we'd like to do is there's some things we can do, and they even have stats now versus offensive pace of play and defensive pace of play. And if there's things we can do to slow them down, whether it's full court pressure and just keeping them, picking up the ball early and trying to slow them down, not full court pressure in the sense of trying to trap or create something, but just keep them in front.
Just disrupt a little bit.
Yeah, so we'll try to slow them down, but we don't necessarily want to slow ourselves down. And we'll see how that goes.
Rotation's kind of tightened it up a little bit as we've gotten to conference play. Is this an opportunity as you look ahead to a game that's going to be a fast-paced game where maybe the bench gets extended a little bit this week?
Yeah, the bench was a little shorter at Gonzaga because of the one game of the weekend and whatnot. Our bench is definitely a strength. We've got to keep using that.
Well, Coach Reveno, we're looking forward to a fun weekend of WCC basketball here on the Bluff, starting Saturday, 7 p.m. against the San Diego Toreros, and then Thursday, 7 p.m. against the San Diego Toreros here at the Child Center. Saturday, 3 p.m., Portland versus BYU. Tickets still available for both games. Visit Ticketmaster, any Ticketmaster outlet, Ticketmaster.com, or the Pilots box office. Give them a call at 503-943-7525. A chance to honor the 1996 NCAA Tournament Pilots on Saturday. Should be a lot of fun. Coach, thank you. Good luck this week. Next week we'll look to get a new men's soccer coach, Nick Carlin-Voigt, on the show as well. Get a chance to talk to him as he transitions into the head coaching role here at the University of Portland. This has been the Portland Pilots Coaches Show. Thanks for tuning in here on 910 ESPN Portland.
Thank you.
This has been Portland Pilots Basketball with Coach Eric Reveno. Tonight's show was brought to you by employee-owned Weimart, by your local Les Schwab Tire Center, the Oregon College Savings Plan, by Buffalo Wild Wings, U.S. Bank, by Safeway, and by PlaySmart Health Screenings from Providence Heart and Vascular Institute. Join us for University of Portland basketball all season long on the home of the Pilots, 910 ESPN Portland. ESPN Portland. ESPN Portland. ESPN Portland. ESPN Portland. ESPN Portland. ESPN Portland.